My name is Riyaadh Ismail. I am a fashion designer, freelance stylist, and creative director. A career in the creative industry, let alone fashion design, wasn't something that, like, from the time I was 6 years old, I picked up a t-shirt and I was like, I want to be a designer. That's not how it happened for me. My dream was to be a sportsman, but without knowing, my dream to pursue that career had me fall in love with fashion. The impact of a uniform, a kit, a jersey number, the way we used to fight to wear a specific number in soccer, that subconsciously already got you wanting to wear the best. Even though it might just be a number, but subconsciously it gets you to, I want to wear that number because it associates me as the best player, or it associates me with a certain skill. Similarly to, if you see someone wearing a high fashion brand, you'd assume they have like knowledge of fashion. That's how it began to impact me. And then when I stopped playing, which is like around 14 to 15 in high school, I found myself falling in love with fashion again without knowing, simply because the stuff that I wanted to wear wasn't accessible in South Africa. So at the time, like ripped denims and bleached denims and stuff. So I just watched YouTube tutorials and started DIYing stuff like that. Screen printing t-shirts with like tissue paper and an iron, as simple as it started. And then as I got more into it and I started falling in love with brands and associating myself with brands, the way I got introduced to it was through collaborations. So the minute Adidas had a collab with Bape, I was like, yo, what's Bape? And then I researched it, found out who runs Bape, Nico, watched interviews about Nico, and fell in love with his craft, his motivation, his inspiration, and what he's trying to do for the youth and how he views himself. And till today, he's my biggest inspiration. People like Jun Takahashi, people like Rei Kawakubo, Virgil Abloh. I obsessed over the way these people react and how, despite their fame, despite their money, despite the success of the brand, all they cared about was the future, how their stuff impacted the next generation, the stories within their garments, and how they were able to tell stories that were bigger than them through something as simple as a t-shirt. So I really fell in love with the ability to storytell through fashion. Fashion is an art form. It's not just a necessity. If you love fashion, you know the impact it can have on generations to come, on your family, on your household, on you, on your personality. So that's how I really fell in love with it. I began styling a lot. I began creative designing, creative directing a lot. I found myself styling for AKA. I did costume design for Pearl Thusi that I made in less than 24 hours. It wasn't like, yo, I always want to be a stylist. That's not how it started. It was just a nice way for me to gain funds, to find what I actually wanted to do. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with styling and with creative directing. Creative directing because to be able, for someone to give you a brief and a concept and you create something tangible from that is amazing. With regards to my creative process, I think because I don't have a tertiary education or formal education in it, it's never the same. The process is never the same. I can like see someone wearing something, or I can drive past a tree and like the color of the flowers. I can see a kid wearing something that I used to wear. Just something as simple as that, and that immediately I get like a burst of energy and I dig into researching stuff. I dig into what I want to do with it. I dig into the textures of stuff and I'm just like, yo, let me try to create something from it. And then I'll just do like a little mock-up sketch. And then from the sketch, I'll sit and I'll look at the sketch and try to see if there's any meaning in it, because I hate making something that has no meaning. Because from the time I'm young, like, if you love something because of the aesthetic, dope, you're gonna buy something because it looks cool. But the minute that thing has a story and that story resonates with you, you're a loyal customer to that brand. You love that brand for life just because of that story. So I always try to incorporate a story into it. Challenges that I think South African creatives face is belief. I think that's the biggest challenge, because it's not an outside challenge. It's something that you have to deal with yourself and inside of yourself. To find the belief that South Africa isn't all that we have. We're capable of reaching bigger heights. We're capable of going to bigger and better places, the creative opportunities aren't as open to every creative in South Africa. So just believe in yourself that your time will come, the opportunities will come, and that all it takes is one person with influence, with real influence, to see your work and admire your work, and that can change everything for you. Funding also is a big problem. Because South Africa is new to the creative industry, I think the funding isn't so easily accessible. Creative work is very expensive. If you're in the creative industry, you know how costly it is. You know that creatives in South Africa are taken advantage a lot. We need to create more conversations in terms of like podcasts and stuff like that, interviews, whatever, so that you can learn directly from your heroes, from people. For example, for me, had I not been there and listened to Wandile Photo and met Tebe Makuku, I wouldn't have found my narrative. I would have maybe found it 2 or 3 years later. So we need to create a bigger space for people to have access to those sort of things. Maybe by being live streamed or whatever. There's ways, but just providing people with access to knowledge and information, I think, is the biggest challenge.